Hey, everybody. Welcome back. I'm so excited to talk to my guest today. It's Lyles Reagan. She is a friend and a partner and a colleague, and she's just brilliant. I've never met anybody who could talk about the teen and parent relationship like Laura does. She has some really novel ideas, and she's just phenomenal at getting parents and teens connected again and helping teens to really feel heard. So welcome, Laura. How are you?
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here.
Yes.
And I'm thrilled you have your podcast. Oh, we have a podcast.
Yay. I am. So I don't even know how to talk about your expertise because you have such a big background. You've been in child advocacy for a while. You've been a professor. You've got a master's degree. You are like a sociology, just the genius of it. So
I don't know about genius.
no, you've got such a grasp on it. And I love how you combine sociology and conscious parenting. And I know you've got stuff coming on that. So welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm really excited. It all kind of stems from my own journey, right? And finding the nuggets that worked in my life. I had a period as a single parent, and particularly when my girls were teens, we had typical teenage struggles that you hear about. And approaching it from a sociological view really helped me connect with them rather than try to control behavior. And that made all the difference in the world.
Mm. Yeah, that was one of my questions for you today was how do you even, because I remember being a teen and just like completely shutting down and avoiding my parents and I didn't want to open up at all because I didn't feel like they would understand me. So how do you even get to that point where you can have a conversation if they're just like have put up a wall there?
Right. Well, the wall's there for a reason, right? Their job is to take what they need from us and make it their own. But oftentimes they do that by pushing away from us. So it's a developmental piece that they have to experience in order to be independent adults. And rather than taking that personally, we can adopt this non-judgmental attitude that says, I just want to get to know who you are, who you're becoming. I'm just, really excited to know what you're growing into, and approaching it from that viewpoint. It's not just non-judgmental, but it's also inviting. It's asking them to divulge something, a different part of themselves, because you're respectful of their autonomy. And that's the big piece here, is that they are separate from you. So often we see our kids as those precious little creatures that came through us and we think that they are ours, and that's the power of the conscious parenting movement, is that we realize that they have their own journey. But when it gets to be teens, boy, they're asserting that journey in a big way. And they shut down. When you mentioned that shutdown, they shut down because their journey and their thoughts are not being respected. They don't feel that it's a safe place to share who they're becoming or share what those differences are. And I think we as parents get real caught up in, thinking that those differences that they're expressing right now is the imprint forever, that they're going to be in this rebellious state forever, and they're not. They're experimenting with being different from that parent model, and it's okay to do that. It's necessary to do that. They don't leave home if they don't do that. We eventually want them to leave home because the grocery bill goes down.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we want them to do that. We want them to experiment and do all that. And almost to me, it seems like we really kind of want them to do that while they're still kind of under our umbrella of safety.
Yes.
And can
Yes,
guide.
the ideal model is that they step into the world, they experiment, they come back to safety. They step away, they experiment, they get bruised up a little bit, they come back to safety. They step away, they have a huge success, they want to come back and celebrate it. Home is the base. And when it's a safe place emotionally, it's okay to do that. Kids that feel that that feel successful or have a sense of personal empowerment are the ones that leave home. They don't stick around and create crisis and want to keep everyone engaged. The natural tendency is the little baby bird flies away.
What do you tell the parent then who's like, I have younger kids, but I'm trying to imagine my daughter coming in with like a shaved head and telling me about her punk rocker boyfriend and how she's going skydiving this weekend. Like, what do you tell the parent who's like inside probably freaking out about their baby, but
Right.
knowing they need to experiment?
Right, and be the risk taker. Um, that's where the communication skills really came into play for me. And I call them conscious communication skills, but they've been around a while. It's just we're using them in a way that respects the teen's participation in the relationship and the teen's autonomy. Um, I'm not saying they're not still dependent on you. Obviously, financially they are, emotionally they are. All of those things, are true and necessary and part of life. But that pushing away and experimenting has to be affirmed. I really like that you're so self-confident that you can take a risk, and shave your head. I can't imagine doing that. I was such a people pleaser when I was a teen. Seeing that positive nugget that there's to risk taking is helpful, because then it relaxes the defenses of the teen and you get to communicate heart to heart. And that's really the big thrust of what I do in coaching, is helping teens and parents hear each other at the core, so that the messaging of affirming their growth comes through loud and clear. Now, skydiving, sorry, baby doll, you got to be 18 to do that, and I'm not ready to let go and do that. So it's really okay to put up the boundary and say, no, you can't do that one. Underage drinking is not okay. You put up whatever boundary you need at any given situation, but to affirm the risk taking as a positive thing and a necessary thing really relaxes those defenses.
Oh wow. I love that. I love that, to find the positive aspect to this thing that just blows your mind. And I love how you just shared heart to heart, where you said, like, I was a people pleaser. So that helps the
Right.
kid see more about you and see you more for who you really are. That's brilliant. Brilliant.
Right. And so the dissection of that communication uses the skill of I messages. I feel scared when you talk about skydiving, and I'm really glad that society has said that the parent has to give permission if you're under 18. Those are all I messages, and there's a little vulnerability to that you share, and you're modeling to them how to emotionally connect. To say I see you is what we all want at every stage, right? So I see your self-confidence in being willing to shave your head. um, yeah, and then sharing a little bit about the personal story connects them to you, because they don't think that you were ever a teenager. They see you in the role as parent. So it's nice to use vulnerability, authenticity, right? What we talk about as being key to every relationship.
Yeah. So smart. So let's pretend then that you put up the boundary for the skydiving, and
Right?
they somehow missed all the affirmations and aren't feeling so connected, and they get defensive. What can the parent do to kind of control the flow of anger, just the adrenaline as they start to have that conversation with the teen?
Of their own adrenaline, or
Yes.
you think,
Yeah.
are they
How can they
anticipating
stay
that?
calm for that difficult
Right,
conversation?
right. Well, I can simply share what I do and how I use the conscious communication skills, and it's just to say, okay, I'm getting upset. I'm getting fearful, and I need to calm down before we talk about this. And I create the space. And I say, let's talk about it after dinner, or maybe we need to sleep on this, and let's talk about it on the drive to school, because it's just okay to be human, and you're doing an amazing thing for them that models how to regulate, and it's teaching them you're a priority to me. Relating well is a priority to me. So I'm not going to blast you over this, even though I want to. And I really, in my own life and then in my coaching practice, it's really about narrating your process because that's so instructive to the team.
Narrating the process. Okay, so we're just speaking out loud what's happening. Is that what you mean by that?
Right. Just talk about the adrenaline, right? I feel really scared when you talk about skydiving. It freaks me out. And we think we have to have the perfect answer for everything, we think we have to say it right and all of that. But when we narrate our our interior, I think that can really be helpful to kids because they see it done. They're going to confront things that spook them. They're going to confront that cover emotion over the fear of anger. They're going to want to blast people. And how do they create space for themselves to calm down and then respond thoughtfully?
Wow. So you're really giving the parent a whole nother opportunity to hand their teen a brilliant and necessary life skill, almost a survival skill, right before they go out into the world on their own. So that's
Exactly.
brilliant. So I know that you say, because I've done work for you, I know that you say it's never too late. And this seems like a brilliant example of imparting that wisdom that you hope that they go out into the world with, those skills.
Right. And kids never want to hear lectures. They never want to hear the nugget of wisdom that we have. It's like, yeah, whatever. And then the world does, whatever. but they will hear in the moment the power of the interaction. Because believe it or not, they want connection with you more than they want anything on the planet. Yeah, it's just absolutely true. And that happens through every life stage. My mom just recently experienced a stroke and we have a new connection. Her defense mechanisms went down as a result of that. And it's just been actually kind of positive to our relationship because of that heart-to-heart connection. So I know even at 57, I want my mommy. We all want that heart-to-heart meaning in every relationship to be seen. And so it can be the vehicle for instruction, but it can't be top-down instruction, right? It has to be instruction of co-creation is what I call it, where the teen has an equal responsibility in the relationship and is seen as this emotive, brilliant, autonomous being that connects on their terms.
Wow. Yeah, I can think of like some leaders in our country right now who could use these skills.
Absolutely.
No, that's so important. I mean, everybody from marriage to parenting to coworkers, everybody needs what you do, and it's brilliant that you can use this relationship as the vehicle to help people improve those skills.
Right,
So,
because our relationships are mirrors, right?
yeah.
I mean, we talk in conscious parenting that relationships are mirrors to ourselves, but they're also mirrored to the other person. It's a reflexive action. It's a two-way street, and there's power in that.
I love when you say that we're also the mirror to them, because I know, and I think you agree, that knowing that we have a lot of power to shape the next interaction by kind of almost controlling how they feel about themselves and who they are. When we see them as beautiful, loving, responsible, autonomous individuals, then that's the behavior, right? That's what you mean when you say it's reflexive, isn't it?
I think that's certainly true. But I also, when I say it's reflexive, is that their interaction on us creates our inner world as well.
Yes.
It's always a two-way piece. It's not just me seeking to guide, or inform teens or protect teens. It's also they're creating me as a parent. They're shaping my worldview, and rather than be threatened by that, which we usually are, we can cooperate with it and have something really beautiful.
Oh, wow. that's going even deeper than what I was just saying, because I see now from what you just said, like they have this whole different perspective that's
Right.
also changing us, and we we have to allow it instead of just throwing our old perspective onto them.
Absolutely. That's why I talk about the generation gap, is that, you know, we think about that we're the workers in society and that we're shaping how things work. But the truth is they're shaping it also by their creation of youth culture. And, you know, all of us as teens know, I mean, as parents know this of teens, that the music's different, the lingo is different, the social media access and what they do with it is different. They're such pros at that. Um, you know, so they can be our instructors as well.
Mm.
And the relationship really can be bigger than either one of the individuals.
Mm-hmm. So I have another question from that. Do you think that parents who are afraid about the way the world is going, like confused by all the gender stuff and pronouns and white fragility and all this training that's happening in kids' faces and stuff, do you think that parents who are worried about their teen growing up in that have a point, or do you think it just kind of, that's just the teen, like we're all creating the culture and the teen will know what is for them and, you know, like what isn't for them? How do you think that parents today can navigate this changing world and
Right,
not
right.
like,
No,
should they
that's an
be?
awesome question. Um, and I don't know that any of us have the answer because we've never been here before. You
Yeah.
know, absolutely co-creation of culture has happened throughout time. And since kids hopped in the car and went to the soda shop by themselves, you know, they've created youth culture. But so there's a history for this. And every generation thinks, oh my God, it's never happened before like this, but it has.
Yeah.
The difference is social media's amplification of the differences has never been so great. And that is the scary part. We see that in our politics right now. So again, my model has always been about home is the safe place. And you step out and experiment and you come back and we either talk about it or we just sit quietly. And, you know, my girls, even at 16, would turn on Disney movies that they grew up with. It was this need to retreat and return to childhood and let that be safe. And okay, and mom cooked me mac and cheese, you know, let's just be home for a while. And then run back and talk about the he, she, it, we, you know, struggle that they were facing and even take it on, you know. So my girls talked about their sexuality at one point, and I got to talk about, I think we all have feminine and masculine sides, but you guys are doing it in a new way that's never been out front like this before. I think the key is to again, those three things we just talked about at the beginning of our conversation, right? The non-judgmentalism, respect for the autonomy of this amazing being that's in front of you. And then I forget the third.
Well, yeah. No, everything that you said, it really does come down to what your business name is, sharing heart to heart and doing those iMessages. And just, I love that you said they can retreat and watch Disney movies and make mac and cheese and just explore it in that safe place or ignore it in that safe place for a moment and just recoup. It's brilliant. Sorry to take off on that tangent.
And let me share one other thing, may I just that it's not always all rosy, because my and I have her permission to share this, she's a young adult now, but one of my daughters had some experimentation with sexting, and we had the you know, social media in our home, devices in our home, and she stepped over a boundary. She was doing some unsafe things, and quite frankly, this little guy was older than she was, and he could have had a charge against him. And you know, kids these days, they don't sit in the living room with the parents and play Yahtzee for their first date. You know, that's what I did growing up in a religious home. So you didn't have that little practice, that little safe practice. and she was struggling with a physical illness at the time, so she wasn't getting all the social interaction either, with the parameters of face-to-face, interaction, because you don't do face-to-face what you do virtually. There's this sense of safety that teens adopt. So she got in trouble with it, and by in trouble I mean she put herself at risk, and I don't mean I felt like she was in trouble. Well, maybe she was, but anyway, we found out about it, and I did the space creation because I was freaked out, and I said I don't even know what to do or how to talk about it. So, okay, now we know. We'll talk about it tomorrow. And what just bubbled up from my own intuition was we need to make this, and my own experience was we need to make this real and not virtual, because it doesn't feel real, when you're online in the safety of your room taking pictures.
Yeah.
So, or at least I thought that was the case. So my thought was, let's get to know this guy, let's find out who he is. And at least you have this third party set of eyes that is your mother and carries all that weight, baggage with it. So I said, let's back it up. Let's make it a real relationship, because you guys are only talking online. And would he be willing to go to lunch? And because if you were dating in the traditional sense, you would meet the parents at the door and then you guys take off and go wherever you want to go. That's how I grew up. And she was willing to do that. I think she wanted that kind of relationship with him. And I met him and I said, I'm going to choose to believe that because my daughter thinks you're something that you are, and you just made a bad judgment call. And I liked him. We had pizza, we hung out. The relationship lasted 2 weeks after that, which was perfect, because it was a typical adolescent puppy love kind of thing, and making it real made it peter out in a natural course of time. But after that, we had her come to the living room to use internet till she left for college for the most part. She just needed that safeguard. And I don't know that that's anyone's solution, is to have them only use social media around you, but it was our solution because she had crossed a boundary that could potentially harm her.
Yeah.
I don't have perfect answers for this, and I don't think anybody does. But again, the communication skills is what got us through. My suggestions about moving from the virtual world to the real world really worked.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like it reminds me of the quote, like, what you resist persists, and you didn't resist it. You really just, you talk about communication skills, but it was really like a heart opening to just, how can I help her
Right.
and navigate through this? And then it just did what it needed to do. And that was brilliant. Right. I think that was brilliant. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm glad she's okay.
She's willing to share that. Yeah. Yeah, she's willing to share that now.
So I know I had another question on here. I think it applies, related to what you just said. When you have an agreement, then when you come to some kind of agreement with your teen about what is a new way to navigate something like that, how do you help them stick to it? Or how do you even come to an agreement that they'll stick to? And I think I know your answer.
Right. They work because they're co-created, right? I suggested this to my daughter because she finally saw the power of what she had been involved in with sexting. And at first there's that veil of denial, and then when you talk about, hey, wait, here's the law, here's the crime, I'm not saying this, the planet is, and we need to help you navigate through this. So I think she got a healthy dose of fear and was looking for the structure that would support her. And of course, we're not going to turn off the internet. This is life now, and And now we've got school online. So it's a reality that we have to deal with. And why not use that same co-creation philosophy, that same heart-to-heart philosophy, to create the boundaries that keep us safe now, experiment with those, and it doesn't have to be etched in stone. And one solution that was true for a month might not work next month, but we have this relationship where we can talk about it. That makes everything work better.
Yeah. So they have buy-in because they were part of coming up with that
Of the
solution.
right?
Yeah. And they can also see it from the other perspective of it kind of takes you as the guard out of the picture when you say, like, this isn't even my role, it's not safe. And then they can think about
Right.
it in a different way.
Right. And you just pose the open-ended question, right? That's another of the conscious communication skills is, okay, my job, society's told me I have to keep you safe. I have to keep you from this crime. I understand you want a relationship with this guy. How do we find a solution?
Mm-hmm.
And it really is the we, right?
Yeah. Well, I think you've answered my last question, which thank you, which was how did you teach your daughters to approach all conversations in this way? And I know that you modeled it. Have they given you any feedback about, do you see them take these same conscious communication skills out into the world? Are they using them? Do they come back to you now and ask?
Absolutely. I have a really neat example of that that I'm very proud of.
Mm-hmm.
And I shouldn't own it as my own. That's my ego.
Pat your bag.
But my daughter, the same one that had the social media exposure, went on to Equine College, and her first job interview was at a horse farm that was going to hire a trainer, and was not treating the horses in the way that she felt they needed to be treated. They needed some a different kind of stall and padding and things that she had learned about. And so she went for the first interview. She felt a little uncomfortable about saying this to a 70-year-old, owner, barn owner, business owner. And they were going to have a second interview. And so she created a space for herself, right, to process it. She and I talked about it, and she went back to him and said, I would love to work for you. I think we can, really grow this business together. But here's what I need to make it work for me, because this is the education I just had. So here's a 20-year-old saying this to a 70-year-old. And very confidently, but not arrogantly, about what she needed to make this job work. And I was like, score!
Yeah.
Because she processed for herself. She figured out, dealt with her own emotions at that time, because she was really scared. This was her first big interview at a big barn. And then she used her iMessages, and it just worked.
Yay, that's awesome. What better place to put him into action than a job interview, which is really for security and everything else. That's just wonderful. I know be proud. That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you, Laura. It's been so fun to talk to you. You are just brilliant. And I feel like you've given us so much, but I want parents to know that you still have a lot more to give them in the personalized help that you do with them in coaching. I know you have parents who have teens that just kind of act like they hate them, and the next day, the first time they talk to you, they're already turning things around. I know you've helped step parents who are not with their teens all the time reconnect and have really good relationships. It's just brilliant what you offer. So people can find you on lauralreagan.com. They can book a free Back on Track assessment call, I believe it's called, on your website, so they can talk to you right now, today, schedule something, get in there with you. And then I know you have a new offering, so brilliant, for parents who are worried about their teens working online. Can you tell me a little bit about
Right,
that?
and it's still based on this co-creative philosophy, right? Of teens need to be empowered to be 21st century learners. This is the way colleges are going. Colleges actually have kind of led education in online learning, and yet here we are with tweens and teens that are having to deal with school this way for the first time ever. And so what this program does is, and I'm calling it quarantine, back to school online learning success. What it does is helps pull out of the teen what their learning style is, what their personality orientation is, and how to advocate for themselves inside of online learning so that they work at their optimum best. And how to schedule and manage time and assignments, and doing it this way, basing it on skills building, just like with the communication skills, but basing it on skills building really gets the parent out of the policing role of online learning and empowers the teen to be fully responsible for that process themselves.
Oh, wow. That's so brilliant. I love that you help them with like those executive functioning skills and building those online learning skills, and also seeing what motivates them and helping them to kind of stay on track themselves so they feel
Right,
empowered.
right.
And then I know you work with the parent too to then at some point take over and just be in this wonderful heart-to-heart communication, supporting them as they continue with their studies. So
Absolutely. And I got to interview a couple of teachers that said, you know, is this just a pipe dream? Because I know college professors are like this. We want um, in the empowerment of learning and the ownership of learning and have those conversations. And the teacher said, oh my God, we are so overwhelmed. If a kid came to me and said, I'd prefer to do a project-based, project learning here, because with a group, because I'm extroverted, that they would go, yes, they would have totally embraced that, because it would be this major relief. So I've had teachers say, yes, this is what they're really working towards anyway, because it produces critical thinking skills.
wonderful. What a brilliant, brilliant offering. So people can also book a call with you to talk about that and see if it's a good fit for them. And I know you have lots of great resources on your website. Again, it's lauralreagan.com, and you have a big, beautiful Facebook group that people can join as well. But I hope they get in touch with you, because I know that you are just the answer to so many prayers for a lot of these
Well, you're
parents.
very, very kind. Thank you.
Thank you for
I
being
love
here.
this work.
Yes. Thank you for being you, and thank you for being here, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you, sweet Beth. I appreciate this.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.